Was Job on cocaine?
Oh, he's already hit it, man. We're there.
We're there. Please edit that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Days of love, days of hate, days of Hanukkah.
Okay, welcome to the Tales from the Ditch podcast. Today we have a very special guest. It's our first guest, Shay Gilliam.
What up, what up, what up?
Did I pronounce Gilliam right?
Yeah, you did.
Any relation to Terry Gilliam?
The author?
Director?
No.
12 Monkeys?
Not that my mom's name is Terry, so that always throws me off.
Interesting.
You're making him uncomfortable. Stop it.
Thank you very much for
You
being
want
here,
that?
Shay. Pastor Shay.
Yeah.
Pastor Shay.
So we got two pastors here.
And I want to make a public apology to Chris Farley because Sean brought up that when he passed, I said some remarks that were uncouth, maybe insensitive, unsavory.
20 years ago from yesterday.
I kind of regret it.
December 18th, 20 years ago, 1997, Chris Farley died. And I remember I heard about it or saw it on TV or something, and I was really broken up about it because I thought he was great. Not just because he was also a fat guy, but because I thought his comedy was great. He was really funny. He was really skillful actor. And he could occasionally show a tender side and everything. Anyways, doesn't matter. He died. And I think I went over to your house, Seth. And I knocked on the door. And my eyes were probably red. I was crying. And or I was just tearing up because I was just sad because mortality became real. And you answered the door, and I couldn't say anything else but just that I said, Chris Farley died. And Seth, do you remember what you told me?
I remember just fine what I told you. If you want to state it, you can. I remember just fine.
Seth replied this way. He said, with very cold, dead eyes, he said, "Oh, what? Did he choke on a waffle?"
20 years ago, folks, I want to point out I was not a pastor, and I thought it was funny.
That was so cold. And I remember we had a fight, and I think that was our biggest fight
Over Chris Farley.
Not over me following God. Listen to this, folks. Not over me robbing people. I made a hilarious but bad taste joke about waffles and Chris Farley. And what did you post on my wall? He posted something. What did you post on my wall, Sean?
I posted on your Facebook wall that it's a 20-year anniversary. And
what was the picture accompanying
an
it?
animated GIF of a waffle.
A waffle.
Because I don't want you to ever forget
how cruel I was.
How cruel or insensitive. And literally, I think it was a couple weeks we didn't talk. Like, it was the biggest fight we ever had.
I felt nothing. I was like, I had this thing where I'm a sociopath, so that, it didn't help. But now that business is out of the way, I publicly repented.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Shay is not related to what was the name?
Terry Gilliam.
Okay. Because I know all
I think he was in Monty Python, and he directed like 12 Monkeys and like all those weird movies like Brazil. Did you guys ever see Brazil?
No.
That was a weird movie.
You didn't.
Seth, here's another weird thing.
Watch weird stuff.
Seth and I have seen all the movies that only both of us have seen, and nobody else saw them when we were kids. Anyways, Shay was asking, before we get started, I feel like this is imbalanced.
Yes.
Shay was asking where we got the idea to start this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
From my perspective, I know that a couple things happen. A lot of people, I would always tell some stories, tales from the ditch, and people would say, man, you got to write those down or write a book or start a podcast. And I can't write a book because I don't like writing. And also there's statute of limitations stuff that I don't want actually put down on paper. But then our friend Mark started his Pizza Fortress podcast, which is an excellent gaming podcast. And I was like, man, Mark started a podcast. We need to start a podcast. And that was all just kind of subconscious thinking. And then Seth came up one day. Do you want to tell this your perspective, Seth?
I think, how can I say this without coming across the way I am? I think I heard a podcast and I saw how many followers there were and I was like, they just sound like two reformed guys bickering. I was like, I could do that. I can bicker. And I really thought, I was like, Sean and I kind of said as a joke and Sean's like, it's easy. We can do it. And then we put it together and recorded and it actually worked. Because I'm used to us doing music stuff and it doesn't. See, Shay, those are compilations we were on.
I heard about those.
Never sold anything.
Seth's pointing to some vinyl records.
So that's usually what I'm used to, but it worked. But it really, I'm sorry, but you listen to a podcast in the first 30 minutes. They're like, blah, 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 isn't this crazy, Calvin? And they're all 50,000 followers. I'm like, I don't. So I thought it'd be fun. It was an excuse for us to get together and drink and sit where there's like axes and guns. So, yeah.
And
So arrogance.
Another
That's
thing,
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
is
it was
that
arrogance.
it would be tragic if the world didn't hear our opinion.
I know. Finally, white Calvinists get a place. Finally, we have a platform.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's been a struggle.
When will there be some white Calvinist authors who are angry and have an opinion on things? Like,
No comment. No comment.
Sponsored by Terry Gilliam.
I think actually, and here's what happened. We said, hey, it's not going to take any resources. We already have all this old band equipment and we can just do this and try it out and see what happens. And the first time we did it, we had a lot of fun. And it's like, basically, we're just saying what we say when we're playing video games or hanging out and letting the boys play or something like that. Mm. But we just decided to record it. And also, I know friends don't let friends start podcasts, but I think we're like, we might as well give it a shot and then see what happens. And then like immediately we had like 7 listeners and we were like, we got something here.
Well, and then it jumped up. It was weird. It was like, you told me it was like 200 downloads and I was like, okay. And I'm doing the glug glug with my hand like symbol mocking Sean that he's a drunk. Like, I thought that's crazy, but it was
I think we just hit 500 confirmed downloads. It's like over 1,000 hits, but it's like 500 confirmed downloads, which is probably not big in the podcasting realm, but it's pretty big to us. That's more fans than we ever had when we were in a band.
Well, to be fair, the music was terrible. So we had this thing where the music was not good. So
yeah, that was our.
Other than that,
shtick.
we were great. Yeah, if you didn't listen to music, we were fantastic. So what we got to ask Shay though? We have Shay here.
Yeah,
a fountain of knowledge.
Yeah, we should stop talking and let Shay
talk.
In
the 80 years I've known Shay, he has never said anything boring, wrong.
Oh man, please lower that bar.
I have a question for you, Shay. Okay. And right now it's almost Christmas. Christmas is this weekend. We were just talking. Seth is preaching a Christmas sermon in Carson.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That's going to be good. And Shay and I will be attending the Christmas at Sparks.
I'll be preaching New Year's.
And Shay's preaching New Year's, so it's going to be a great lineup. What is your opinion, Pastor Shay, on the war on Christmas?
That is a really broad question. What do you mean by that?
Are we winning?
Are we winning the war on
Whose
Christmas?
side are we on?
Yeah.
So here's a couple relevant things.
He's from a different area too.
I am. I'm from South Carolina originally. So
yeah. So I wonder what.
Yeah, you would. That's why I'm curious because it seems like the war. What do you call it? The war for Christmas. The war for Trump's Christmas is started on the East and the South.
Did it?
It sure seems like that's all the people who are trying to make state legislation about Christmas stuff is coming from the South and the East.
See, I haven't seen a current... I've seen before, like years ago, like Texas, like is there a nativity scene at a public place? But is there recent stuff where this?
Oh my God, Trump's campaign promise was, if I'm elected, we are going to start saying Merry Christmas and stop saying Happy Holidays. And he's made good on it.
Is that why you voted for him, Sean?
Yeah, that's exactly why I think several people voted for him.
I just
did
wanted
vote.
to see if I had a gotcha moment.
I did vote for him, just not in the election.
Just
And additionally, recently in Reno, we had a different church than we're affiliated with tell their congregation not to support businesses that have things like Happy Holidays or a lack of Christmas.
Are you
stuff
joking or are you serious?
No, I'm totally serious.
What? Oh, see, I haven't heard any of this.
Yeah.
I've also heard people in our congregation say that same thing. Like, I will not support businesses.
Oh, I
that
guess
say
I'm
Happy
behind.
Holidays.
Okay.
It depends, man. I mean, there's words mean things. I mean, especially, it depends on where you're from. Where I'm from, words mean everything. You say the wrong word to the wrong people, and you can spark off a riot that consumes the whole city. So something like Happy Holidays. I remember that started where I was from in South Carolina. It started like back in the 90s when people started saying Happy Holidays. And I remember being offended because it was like, there's only one holiday that people are celebrating right now.
Yep.
But I mean,
Hanukkah.
yeah, until I stop being ignorant and realize, there's more than just me that revolves around this planet.
Right.
Not to me, baby. Not to me. Shay.
If you're not of the persuasion to celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, then yeah, why not tell people Merry Christmas? Yeah. And until like the United States starts celebrating those things on a national level, then yeah, it should be Merry Christmas.
I did think so. All right, because I found it very interesting. So we had someone who got mad with my work of you're playing like Christmas stuff. And I thought they had a good response. They said, if it was a holiday for Islam or Judaism, they're like, I'd play the music. But one, there's not a station I know of that plays them. And two, it's not that holiday.
Yeah.
And they were fine with it. But I noticed that even if you wanted to, I don't know of the channel where I'm like, man, it's got that Jewish beat. It's got that, it's
got that fire.
Yeah, it's
that fire. That Jewish fire.
DJ Manischewitz, and you got the Purim, like, so, because if you think of it, there's Beastie Boys. I don't know that they're Orthodox Jewish.
They're Jews.
That's by birth. That's like.
Are they?
I don't even know if that's good. But the thing is, it's like, there is something. All right, I'm not someone who, I don't believe as a Christian. I don't like to demand rights. I'll fight for them. I'll talk about them, but to demand like I'm owed them. But, I do think there is something that even if you say, don't say Merry Christmas, it is predominantly a part of our culture, even on a popularity level. Mm. So it's weird where I don't know of a station that plays other type of holiday music. I mean, they'll play Halloween, but Christmas is like, even Bill Maher. Like, Bill Maher says Christmas is his favorite time of year, and he's an atheist. So there's something to it.
I think if Christians are really going to be upset about the whole Merry Christmas thing, they should just forego saying Merry Christmas at all and just say Happy Birthday, Jesus.
Oh,
yeah,
because Christmas has been adopted by consumerism anyway, and it's more a pagan holiday than it is any kind of Christian bent to it. So people try to take the elements of Christmas, so the lights, the trees, and try to put a Christian slant to it. But it's pagan at its roots. So
absolutely, it is. I
Why
heard
not
a thing
Happy
today.
Birthday, Jesus? I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with
It's
that.
his birthday.
I think that is
it?
If there is a war,
That's the other question.
if there is a war on Christmas, the war is the free speech being negated so that we can't say Merry Christmas. But unfortunately, I don't think that's what evangelical America has made the war on Christmas about. They made the war on Christmas about how dare you do anything except Merry Christmas.
Mm.
Stop taking the Christ out of Christmas by saying Happy Holidays, or make sure your cup has some type of design on it that's Christmassy.
That's all right. I want to ask both of you because you both can understand this. So I've already sold myself out on this because I tried to not mention it in the podcast and it came up. I'm independent. I tend to be more pro-life libertarian-ish. And I say ish because there's no party that I ever go 100% like you're awesome. There's always some conflict. but I'm a huge free market guy. Even if you find it unsavory, I have the right not to buy their product. Doesn't in a free market, a business has the right to say, we don't want to say that. And if you don't like it, I can just not buy their products. Because I don't know, I'm a free market guy who goes, if you don't like them, yeah, then I'll go to the next store and give them business. I don't know. I mean,
I believe that.
I thought some of the people who are getting this angry about, aren't they free market capitalists? Because
oh man, politics.
How-
If the United States was actually
was a free market?
actually was like a democratic society, possibly.
Yeah, that's
It's not a democratic society.
Absolutely, it's oligarchy.
It's more of I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it.
Poop show?
Anything
Republic.
else?
I'm going to say poop show.
Poop show.
Wikipedia, poop show. I don't know. I just wonder that but it is, yeah, I guess. See, probably my idealism coming through, but
I think going back to the pagan roots of Christmas, it's very interesting. I've been told before by people in our church and other churches that, like, by engaging in Halloween, trick-or-treating, dressing up, decorating the house with scary stuff and things like that, that I'm worshiping Satan and I'm opening myself up to demonic influence because of blah, 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 which I disagree with. But the funny thing is Halloween itself, or All Hallows Eve, is closer to Christian root, and certainly Reformers Day is closer to a Christian root than Christmas is. Christmas is crazy. The Yule log,
heard that, yeah.
The Yule log is like pre-Babylonian. For the winter solstice, they would like light this giant fire, and if they're having a really bad winter, they would sacrifice people on the fire of the Yule log, like children. They would sacrifice kids to Moloch. Isn't that crazy?
Do either of you do the Yule log?
I don't do that anymore, but I was for a while.
No.
Okay, so we're better than them. I'm just trying to get at that. I don't know why it hasn't been brought up.
You know mistletoe?
I don't
This is
do that
crazy. Mistletoe, originally there was this myth around mistletoe that's not just like you kiss when you're under mistletoe, but mistletoe transports you to the underworld, and you're able to save your loved ones out of the underworld, and it's called giving them the kiss of life.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy?
Can you
That's
confirm
crazy.
what he's saying? Because
No.
what if we find out he was just screwing with us?
Yeah.
He's all stupid shade stuff.
The other benefit of a podcast is
No fact
Who's gonna-
checking until
yeah.
afterwards.
who's going to say it? Yeah, I'll just delete their comments. But no, look it up. Look up the Yule log and mistletoe. It's crazy.
What do you guys, Shay, what do you think about people? All right. So the Celtic cross, the story I heard was it has a circle behind the cross because a lot of them worship the sun god. So they put the cross over, almost saying we're superior. Jesus is the true God. Are you against people who say, like in church history, they said, these are pagan things, but we're going to change it. We're going to change the celebration. Christians are going to celebrate this time, and we're going to almost like recapture it. Like, this time used to be about this. We're going to change it. We're going to redeem it. We're going to make it a new celebration that's actually about good things. I mean, do you think there's something to that about redeeming things or changing them? Or like if there's a holiday every November that, say, was about killing children, what if we changed November and made our own celebration of like, this is about pro-life. This is about celebrating babies being born. Like, do you think there's anything to that about redeeming pagan things or changing or, taking them back or I don't know. Because that's kind of the idea.
That's hard, man. I mean, because you're trying to transport yourself back in time from a 21st century perspective.
Yeah.
Going back into like the fundamentals of Christian thought. I just don't know if you can do that. I can't judge those folks. They were battling against things that we weren't battling against. We're trying to
paganism.
like legit paganism. Like, so there's a part of it. Yeah. But I mean, you're also talking to a guy. There's hardly any holidays that I'm gun ho about. And so, I mean, as much as Easter's probably my favorite holiday, but even that has its pagan roots. Yeah. Christmas, I'm pretty thoroughly convinced Jesus was born like early fall.
That's what okay.
Yeah.
That's
And so
yeah.
I don't know. There's just certain things. So if it were an all out, we're not going to take any elements from that original pagan thought process. We're not going to try to redeem any of those things. We're just going to take the date and bring in all of our own elements, maybe. But you took something like a Christmas tree where in its original pagan context, you would bring in a tree from the outside in order to worship that god, whatever it was, so that when the new year came about, that you could take it back outside and it was like an offering to the gods. I mean, it's just like we took those things and we said, oh, let's put lights on them, and we can say that they're angels that are surrounding the tree. I mean, we try to stretch it too far, and then some people get mad when you don't accept their explanation for what they're trying to do. So I know different scholars have talked about this. Who are the main guys who have pointed this out of like the pagan origins? Because you'll have, and this is heated, like Europe doesn't agree with Asia, doesn't agree with America. One will say it has this origins. Others will quote church fathers and go, well, clearly no, they always had this in mind. And they both talk. They don't say this. They don't say, in my opinion, I think this is where it is. Mm-hmm. They both talk like, well, it's obvious that it was always pagan, or it's obvious that it was never pagan. Like it was a tradition here and here. But there's so many coincidences to me but it's the same time as this. It happened the same time as this. This symbol was used by that same festival.
There's no indication that the 25th is Jesus' birthday.
There's no indication. And the hard thing is though, I mean, I'll be honest, like, yeah, I'm not a scholar, but just a quick Google search, I go, I don't know if that's as clear as they're saying of, oh, it's clearly not pagan, because, like I said, I don't know if there's any current scholar who thinks he was born in December. I can't think of one. They either say fall or they think ahead. So they think before or ahead. I've heard one guy say ahead. I have not heard one guy say December. So I don't know. I'd be fine with happy birthday, Jesus. I mean, that's pretty clear, right?
We should start doing that.
Feliz cumpleaños, Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, since we don't have an actual date,
why not?
Just mark it in the sand.
Jesus, which is the proper.
That's one other thing that bothers me about it is people are so frustrated that people aren't saying Merry Christmas. But are those same people who are so concerned with keeping Christ in Christmas, like actually celebrating Christ's birthday and bringing it to people who aren't Christians and saying this is why? Yeah.
I don't know, man, because you try to say, hey, why don't you do the nativity set instead of a Christmas tree?
Oh gosh.
And watch people, their heads explode.
Oh my gosh.
Where are we going to put the presents?
Where are we going to put at Jesus' feet where they belong?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I find it funny that, that's a funny thing. They want Christmas to be about the true meaning, but I'll see them still believing a prosperity gospel. They want it to be about the true meaning, but yeah, if you ask them to take down the tree, they'd be mad. And yet they'll say, well, look, he came in the world. I go, okay, do you talk about, the incarnation? Do you talk about what this means? Well, no. I go, and why does he look like a white European model who's clean? See, and this is where you'll all agree with me. And they go, well, who cares? It doesn't have to be perfectly historically accurate. I go, okay, so the Messiah doesn't have to be accurate, but we have to make sure we say this right and do this. And it's like, and I've seen them get mad out, but yeah, those same people, I go, you have cultural idolatry. You believe in a prosperity gospel. You don't care about what he actually looked like, but you're mad about, it'd be one thing if they were level on all that. Because then if they said, hey, we need to say Merry Christmas, I go, well, you're consistent on everything else. But it's weird. It is the same to me almost as when I meet people who are pro-life. And I go, awesome. But then I say, all right, let's also, open up our homes to single pregnant women. And they're like, oh, they put themselves there. I go, whoa. I'm like, well, I want to see that baby in her belly live. And I want to see her live. And I've had people give that response. They're like, why is that my problem? I go, well, I thought we were... Because to me, I care. That's part of the reason I'd want her there. Like, and I'm not saying everyone can do that, but they weren't even saying no because they didn't have the resources and wanted to. They literally had a look of disgust, and I'm going. And don't worry, people. I'll attack the left too. I attack everyone, so don't worry. I think everyone's full of crap.
Easy. That's a problem.
Well, it's a bigger target. My friends on the left who are Christian, I run into just as much conflict and idolatry because we're humans. And humans, we always sin and come up with something because God's not enough. But
so I think
brought to you by Fireproof
9. I think what you were saying, Shay, before was that Christians tried to take this pagan holiday maybe with the best intentions, and create a Christian holiday out of it and redeem it, which, sure, there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe they didn't do such a great job if now we're worshiping trees and things like that.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is the fat Christian fathers who...
The fat
Did you say
Christian father.
fat?
The fat
What's
Christian
that?
fathers. I was going to say founding fathers. I was like, that's something different. The Christian fathers who decided they were going to take Christmas and change it are like the band, the Apologetics,
I have no idea
who
what that means.
You're
there's
not
this
missing
band and they
anything.
take this. Okay, so we talked about this last
Explain
podcast.
the premise.
This band takes
My world
popular
is hip-hop. I
mainstream
don't-
songs and they change them. So, for instance, they do an Eminem song, but they change it to all Christian lyrics. The example that I have in my head is there's that "Hey Now, You're a Rock Star" song.
Yeah.
They did "Pray Now, You're a Christian" or something like that.
They
It's terrible.
steal the rhythm,
It's
the
horrible.
chords, everything, and just add lyrics.
I think that's what bothers me about it so much, because originally the church, they were the trailblazers.
Yep.
Christianity was how people were. They were the originators of great creativity in art, in music, paintings. Like the church was leading the way in so many different areas, and now either because we enjoy following the world for some reason, like we're afraid to step out and be originators
Mhm.
and staking, like putting our flag in the sand and saying, no, this is something new. It sounds better than anything the world is putting out. And we're gonna ride with this instead of chasing after the world. So, like I was saying, I'm into hip hop, right?
Right.
And I love the theology that can be played into hip hop just because it's normally like lyrically based. So you can go on a subject like predestination for an entire song and just hover there. But now you've got like some Christian hip hop artists that are trying so badly to sound like their secular counterparts that they're just losing the message overall.
Right.
And it doesn't sound different. And that's not what the Bible says we're supposed to be like. We're supposed to be the salt of the world.
Right.
Bringing something
Thank
new
you.
and fresh and lively. So.
Okay, do you want to name that artist? Or
Which
those
one?
artists
Oh,
who are
Shylin?
selling out?
Oh no. Shailene does a great
Shailen's
job
legit.
though.
Yeah,
He's good. Do you like
hypostatic union.
Trip Lee? You like Lecrae, I thought.
I don't.
Really?
Yeah.
What about Trip Lee or Show Baraka?
Trip Lee's good. Shovel Rocka's last album was pretty good. He touched on some real like deep social issues that I really enjoyed what he had to say, and brought like a Christian perspective to it. So it was cool.
Who are your main guys, and who are the guys you really appreciate? Then?
I appreciate Shailene. I appreciate Hazakim. Their main thing is ministering to Jews, trying to show them the light of Christ.
Oh, I know
And
that.
so all of their music has a Jewish bent to it. So they'll have like the horn of shofar blowing in the background and just different Jewish elements. Stephen the Levite is good. Timothy Brindle, he usually does a good job.
You ever heard J.D. Medeiros?
I haven't.
Oh my god. Okay. He has a song, and it's about, he brings up, alright, and this is a nice fun topic for Christmas, sex trafficking, but he uses the woman at the well and it's talking about broken people. And I listened to him when I wasn't a Christian and was like, because he wasn't trying to imitate anyone. Because that's the thing that drives me nuts is we have the Holy Spirit, we have God in heaven to look forward to. We go, how about I copy someone from the world and put my own spin on it? I go, that's not creative versus, like, I don't see the Bible saying, hey, Shay, Seth, steal their story but twist it. I see them going, no, have confidence in the gospel. We have
Yeah.
a better story.
It says sing to the Lord a new song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't imitate. We bring a better story. Like, that's why I don't like the idea of looking at the culture and going, well, do we go this way, this way? I go, no, we present them the better way. And it's frustrating because I bring that up and they go, so you're saying you're a communist. I mean, it's like, it just, yeah, like the bands oh man, you played Shailene. That was the first time I heard it. And I went home, I was like, babe, like I was talking to my wife. I don't call Sean that, just so you know.
Yeah, you do.
Only on holidays.
Mhm.
But I was like, that is good. Because we were talking about, oh, for those who want a good laugh, try watch me shake Shay's hand sometime. I do not get it 8 out of 10 times. I have this thing where I'm Dutch and I can't do anything right.
And I am not Dutch.
But and then Dupree comes up, our other friend who now you know about, and I try to do the same handshake. It doesn't work because I'm foolish.
I just
But-
learned that from Shay. It doesn't work.
Shay, yeah, it's just funny to watch. It looks sad. Where Shay almost gives me this look like he's downtrodden. He wants to tear his clothes and put ash. He's like, why have you done this thing in my presence? But yeah,
Well,
sponsored.
I didn't mean to bring up something that we already talked about, but I think I really enjoy talking about it in terms of hip hop because, like you're saying, like if there's ever a musical platform where you have the ability to just spout theology and things that can bring you to a state where you're worshiping God, like what a great way to do that. And unfortunately, like you said, there's just a lot of what do you call somebody who's not legit in the hip hop world? Scrubs? Is that it? A lot of scrubs?
I don't know if I can say what you called it. Well, in the Christian, I don't know. That'd be different.
But on the real though, like praise God that there's guys that are trying to bridge the gap between the secular and and the holy. Like, so there's some guys that as soon as they hear the name Christ, they'll turn the song off.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so there are some artists out there. Like I give props to Lecrae, man. Like he's out there bridging the gap between like real secular artists and the hip hop and the Christian hip hop community. Like I don't think anything has ever bridged that gap that way. But when you come out and say I'm primarily a hip hop artist, I'm a hip hop artist who happens to be a Christian. That's not what Christ told us to do. It's like our gospel identity is that we are children of God first. Christ has redeemed us first and foremost. And everything flows out of that identity.
Right.
Including your lyricism as you're approaching hip hop. So.
I have to ask kind of a controversial question. And Shay, this may change the way people see you at Livingstone Sparks.
Okay.
Crap, I said our church name. Whatever. You should come to church.
Everybody knows that.
Come to church.
You uncircumcised Philistines. And I'm dead serious. I want answer. Biggie or Pac?
Biggie.
Yeah! Yeah!
There you go.
Yes!
Sean is so vindicated right now.
Yo, straight up, I give Pop, I give props. He was a poet, man. Like you want to talk about somebody who could open up their heart in their lyrics. It was Pop. Like he was a brilliant poet. Biggie just had a lyricism that was beyond anything at the time.
Did you ever hear them freestyle battle when they were still friends? Have you heard that one?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think I have. Yeah.
They, and I hate to admit this, Biggie killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Cause he's like, I got 9 9s, 10, he's just going through.
Yeah.
And I sat there, cause I liked Pac, I listened to that, I was like, I will not play this for Sean, cause it will prove I'm wrong. Cause Sean was like, Biggie's better. I'm like, you're saying that cause he's chubby. You're saying that cause he's got some pounds.
I'll throw a monkey wrench in there. I would put Andre 3000 up there in that same conversation.
Really? With
That's
Pac
actually-
and Biggie?
Yep.
Dang.
Wow.
That kind of threw off, I don't know what to believe
That is
now.
a monkey wrench.
I'm going to
But
be
I'm
preaching
from the
on
South.
Sunday and
I'm
I'm
from
like,
the South too, so that's
Well, where's he from? What's
Georgia.
What country?
ATL?
He's from Georgia? Why did I think he was Alabama? I don't know why I thought Alabama for some reason. All right.
I liked Biggie because, and Seth and my wife have for years been ganging up on me and saying that the West Coast is the best coast and Tupac is better. And I agree, the West Coast is the best coast, but I don't think Tupac
wholeheartedly
is better.
disagree with that. But please continue.
And I just thought Biggie's character, I always felt like they were both playing characters. They were both clearly actors who were playing gangsters. And actually, it's crazy. They died for that.
Yeah.
They died for this pathological identity that they made. But anyways, I thought Biggie would come out of that character occasionally. When people would ask him about Tupac because they were buds, he would be like, you know what? I wish no ill will. I just don't want there to be this divide in music and blah, 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 blah. When people would ask Tupac about it, Tupac would be like, yeah, whatever. he's fat and blah, blah, blah. And I was always like, man, Tupac's a jerk.
Yeah.
And Biggie's just this nice, pleasant, chubby
And
guy.
I
and
was,
appreciate
that goes to my personality.
Yeah,
I'm all,
it does.
yeah, because you're like, he's rude. I go, yeah. All right, question. And this is for both of you. Who would you prefer to listen to, Wu-Tang or Tribe?
Ooh.
Tribe.
Tribe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's mine. Because
Yeah.
can I
Oh,
kick
that's
it,
hard.
Shay?
Like anybody in Wu or
No,
the
it
Wu
has to be
as
a
a
collective.
conglomerate?
It has to be a collective.
I think the Tribe.
Because at the gym, if I listen to Can I Kick It, I can
Yeah.
run 5 miles. I don't care. I'll put it on, and people will hear it through. I go, I don't care. I'm hitting like over and over. I can listen to that song all day.
Yeah.
It's.
I
yeah.
think Tribe.
I think so, too. I think I could listen.
You were never about the Tribe, Sean.
I think-
You freaking liar.
36 Chambers is sick though.
It's,
De La Soul, I think, was kind of like my jam. Because, I don't know. I always thought it was funny. They
what
had
about
funny
Biz
stuff.
Markie?
It's funny.
You, because that's you.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that was actually Sean.
He is.
We
He's
just
like my
don't
spirit
know.
animal. Mm.
Your spirit mammal. He's a.
Uh,
I'm not gonna make any jokes.
okay.
So what about Goody Mob?
Oh my gosh.
Goody Mob?
Yeah, Goody Mob. Okay. The blank expression on your face
Yeah, I don't-
is very
I'm-
telling.
Can you
Unfamiliar
spell
with
it for him?
Yeah.
Because I think he'll.
GOODIEMOB. Goody Mob.
Oh, I actually, yeah, I know what you're talking
You've.
about.
I'm
I can't
pretty
think
sure.
of a song, though.
But I think I've played it for you, haven't I?
I think so, but I
If
can't
not,
think
I
of-
have failed as your friend. So I apologize.
Well, you'll need to rectify
I
this
will
for sure.
rectify that situation.
So we've already established Shay doesn't care about Christmas, and that's fine. Well, actually, I want to ask. Okay, maybe why don't we do a fun topic? Because we're always talking about me chasing after trains while I'm on drugs. How about we talk about? I want to ask Shay and you a legitimate question that's nice, that's fun, Sean. The viewers deserve it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Listeners.
Okay. Who do you think you are?
Ah!
No. All right.
You got me.
Shay, what is... All right, you're not big on holidays. Is there any part of Christmas that stands out to you where you go, actually, no, that's beautiful to me, or that's a good memory? Is there any nostalgia at all, or... Is it a white folk Christmas?
It's the white folks.
You know how they are, right? Right?
I think having kids, man, and watching the first time my daughter gave someone else a gift
Oh, yeah.
was awesome.
See, we can be nice on this podcast.
Yeah. No, it's
How long ago was that when that happened?
she was 2.
Dang. Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably one of my better memories. As far as growing up, man, I mean, I grew up in the 80s, and so it was like that tinsel that would probably burn your house down was all over the house. We grew up like super poor, so we had like we had this old, probably like 30-year fake tree that we would bring out every year, so the pine needles were always falling off of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just Christmas was cool, but it was more about hanging out with friends. It was more about like the relationship aspect of it than getting presents. Like I never really, my parents would ask me like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I always had a hard time answering that question.
Yeah.
I didn't see the validity of it like that.
Now, when he says it too, all right, I was lower income, but you say poor.
Yeah.
And I think there's a difference because you can be someone who's like on the outside lower income, but
That's a
there's
good point.
difference.
To be clear,
I'm just
like,
saying there's a difference because there's a difference between saying the town I live in isn't that great versus I live like in the hood.
I think,
There's
yeah.
like the cops won't come here. I've lived in some neighborhoods where like the police won't come or it's a 50-minute response time because they're hoping it gets settled before they get there.
Our neighborhood wasn't that bad, man. I mean, the baddest people, the most delinquent were me and a few of my friends. So,
So you were
It's
number
not-
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. I mean, it was like a little small town, South Carolina. So we grew up in a trailer park, actually. So
That has so many dynamics I want to ask. I'm sorry, but trailer park in the South, You can have poor white people. You can have
Yeah,
there's so many
yeah,
dynamics
there was,
there.
but I mean, the town I grew up in was 50-50. It was a 50-50 split.
Really?
Black and white. I think there was one Asian kid in our whole high school.
And that kid grew up to be Sean Moss.
I like you say that though. I do think it's important, Seth, because a lot of our generation, and Shay is our generation, right? We're all the same generation, although you were,
30s,
Yeah, I'm late 30s.
mid 30s,
but geographically we were a lot different, I guess, growing up. But
West Coast, yeah.
Yeah.
I think in our cohort, people thought it was really important to explain how hard they had it growing up. You know what I mean? And I think I even felt the pressure to do that as well. Like I had it's like everybody our age when they got old enough to resent their parents were trying to compete with how rough their lives were. You know what I mean? And it's so weird to think about that now because like I'm so ashamed of bad stuff and proud of the good stuff from my childhood that I don't want to do that. But like I remember as a kid, especially we were in the punk scene, so everybody was like, "Oh, dude, my dad beats me so much. You don't even know how hard I have it. That's why I'm an alcoholic or whatever." And I'm like, "Shut up." So I think it's good. But anyways, I see personalities like this, celebrities or hosts, radio hosts or podcast hosts, I guess. We don't have radios anymore. They all do kind of that same thing. They act like their opinion is legitimate because they had a hard childhood. And I want to be clear that when Seth and I say we were lower income, we had a house that was my house wasn't on wheels. Your house
Mine
wasn't on
doesn't
wheels.
exist anymore. I want to point that out.
Yours
though.
was
Mine got
demolished.
bulldozed. I just want to point that out.
We had a car, things like that,
Yeah.
that a lot of people I do think take for granted. And there's some people that when they say, "Oh, I was poor growing up," that means I didn't have a car or I didn't have a house.
That's why you held back, though, I feel. Because you sometimes would... All right, so Sean would not say everything going on because I think those guys pissed you off. Because you sometimes were like, stop whining.
Right.
And then when something legitimately was going wrong, like, say, a family member getting taken away with a cop car, I wouldn't find out till, like, years later.
Right.
Whereas
This is embarrassing.
me, I felt like there was this... I don't know. I was raised with this pride of, like, no, like, you just take care of yourself. You don't complain. You don't talk about it. And then years later, I have crippling anxiety, and I'm talking to Jim and Rich, these crazy old guys who are going, maybe it has to do with this 30-something years of stuff you haven't talked about. I'm like, no, that's normal. They're like, no, it isn't.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's more, I don't feel like that's everyone our age. I feel like that's a certain demographic who, whether they watch TV or listen to a certain type of music, those type of people were edgy or like meaningful. They went, oh, if you've had this hard life, you have meaning. So they look at themselves and go, oh, I must not be that special. So they'd go, oh, I've had it rough.
I actually think the age of talk shows kind of did that to people.
Yes,
And
there
so
you go.
like I do think it's a generational thing. Because you got people across the board who say, well, I've been through ABC, so I'm obviously whatever.
It's not my fault.
I've been through worse than you have. I think that's across the board in some cases. You had shows like Oprah and Steve Wilkos and Jerry Springer.
Steve Wilkos. Was Steve Wilkos the Jerry Springer bodyguard?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Okay.
Oprah, personal friend of the show. Shout
Yeah,
out to
she
Big O.
listens. She
Shout out
listens.
to
She's
Oprah.
going to be glad that her name was brought up.
Yeah, I mean you had those kind of shows that told you if something didn't go wrong in your life, then something's wrong with you.
Right.
And
Yeah.
let's compare our stories
Right.
to see how bad you really are. And I think modern counseling kind of took that stance too. Like there has to be something wrong with you. Let's go fishing for what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
It's
I don't
such
know.
it's such a weird pendulum swing with that because I know some people who go, "Who cares what happened when you grew up?" And then it's like, well, if you were assaulted, that's gonna affect you. But then you have the opposite end where it's like, that's all it's about.
yeah,
That's all. It's not your fault. It's not your responsibility. And I'm like, what? It's so weird that we pendulum swing so much instead of saying, well, how about this? I'll listen to you because you grew up, you were developed somewhere, but that's not your full identity and you're still responsible. They're like, no. It's either I'm a victimless, martyr who just, I have no responsibility, or it's who cares what happened. And No, I think you're right, Oprah. Watching some shows, they're like applauding you while you're saying that. They're
Yeah.
encouraging it. They're saying,
Yeah.
"Yeah, good for you." Like,
And the generation before us didn't have any of these problems. Like they were like, of course we got beat in the face
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
switch. Like
yeah.
Can I just call out that generation though? Because that's, I think, my parents' generation. I don't like you guys. Suck. You destroyed the economy. You emotionally crippled almost all of me and my friends. You guys could have done a
It's
little
good
better.
to know you're showing grace.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I just want to bring
no,
that
no,
up.
no.
I don't think people say that enough.
Well, I think it's. I don't think people blame them enough. It's probably that. All right. Well, all right. Back on track. There's a track we're gonna get on. We need to talk about important things. I want to ask Shay one last easy question, which will have no ramifications, and he'll answer easily. And it's on a topic no one disagrees with us on ever. So Shay, you're in the military.
yeah,
You have expressed to me, at least, you're a faithful guy, you're a loyal guy, I believe you're a brave guy. It seems like you have a healthy biblical love of your country. It's not worship of it, but you love it, you have a value of it. Is there ever a struggle where you feel like, with your background or upbringing, like you love your country more than it loves you? Is there ever a struggle or just with sometimes of you love your country, but sometimes you see things in the news or people are divided?
like as a black dude in the military kind of thing.
I was going to say as a Korean middle-aged woman, but that's,
yeah,
I guess if you want to bring race into it. Yeah, cause you've had, all right, West Coast, you hear about racism.
yeah,
But half the time we go to our jobs, we go to our work fine. The South, that's a whole nother, I mean, I've never seen, there's no idea in my mind where I go, oh, I wonder where the KKK is doing up in like northern Orange County.
yeah.
That's not the South is different. And I wonder like, cause you told me about getting in a fight with a kid cause he said the N word.
Yeah.
And I assume you won cause you're a godly man and you're good. You do your bench press.
I put
But-
holy hands on him.
Has there ever been a struggle of like, or just even like, how do you analyze that of going, I love this country, I serve this country. The military are the ones who lay their lives down the line more than anyone. Like, laying down your life is the greatest thing you can do.
Yeah.
There's no greater sacrifice. Is there ever in your mind you go, but am I loved back just as much as I give to my country? Cause you're not just a Christian, you're a soldier.
Yeah.
I know you're a guy who you can fight, you'll stand up for what's right. I mean, what's kind of like the mindset with that? Have you just kind of been at peace with it and said, no, I've put that to rest. I know what I think. I mean,
Yeah, it's a weird. I'm in a weird spot with that, man. I as a black man in America, I'm not appreciated anywhere. And so other than
I heard the
Oh.
LAPD loves you.
yeah, they lay holy hands. Too.
yeah, if you Google search LAPD in black, it comes up a lot.
I know.
They must be, they're super positive about it.
I've just come to that realization, like there's never going to be a time where I'm walking down the street and people are like, yeah, that dude's awesome. It's
Wow.
typically looking at and you can, I don't know, it's one of those things where you have to like notice it to see it, but there's usually like there's a suspicion behind people's eyes as you walk down the street.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the 90s, so my stuff is still, I mean, I cling to that genre, golden age of hip hop. And so I still wear baggy clothes. I still wear hoodies. I still, kind
That's why
of
we love you.
just do me, in that way. But, yeah, going into the military, I've been in the military since I was 19. And so just knowing that, you're suspect just because of who you are, it just grows on you and you just accept it and you're cool with it. And actually I think that's what hip hop is about is kind of like rebelling against kind of some of those systems. And so being cool with it and actually like, this is a sinful part, like adopting it as part of your identity to where I don't always want people to look at me the same as they would look at everyone else. Like I want to be different in some aspects. So, but yeah, I mean, I love the military, man. Literally saved my life. I was on the track to go on to prison right before I went into the military. And so, and had I grown up in different circumstances, like around some of my family back home, I probably would have been 5 bullets in the head or
Lock up.
Yeah. It was easy. Those are the easy choices. So I love my family too much. You know what I mean? So, but the military, since it's done so much for me, man. Like, listen to people talk about it in such a derogatory way. Yeah, I mean it's bothersome because there are some places where you talk smack about the wrong person and like you'll get your hand chopped off or your tongue cut out your mouth. So I mean it's just I love the country. I love the things that like every military person when they come into the military has to say an oath of office. And listening to that oath of office, it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful.
Is it powerful?
Listening to it, it's awesome because it's not like you're joining the Russian military where either you serve or your family goes without eating. It's like you serve, and it's one of the greatest things that you can do. The top 1% of the country are actually in the military. There's only like 1% of the country that's in the military.
Really?
And so like
I didn't know that.
Like just it's awesome. And and there's definitely, I mean, for a long time the government paid me to have fun. Like I don't want to minimize that. There's people who have been like actually shot at and put their lives on the line. And so I don't want to diminish like any of their sacrifice. They've done so much more than me. But yeah, no, I forget your original question.
No, you answered, because here's the weird dichotomy for me is, like I said, I told you this before. When I got married, anytime I heard anything about race, I go, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And it was seeing my wife, like, just how her eyes looked talking to her about this. It was reading different authors like Soon Chan Ra, Anthony Bradley, who were like outside my wheelhouse. But it's like, I saw that and went, dang. And I had this idea of like, what's going on in our country? And I had these criticisms and this cynicism. But then I come from a family of men for 3 generations who have fought. And except for my Opa, who was like in World War II, my dad and brother thought this country was worth fighting for.
Yeah.
So I have this weird thing where I have these criticisms, but I don't want to get so bitter and cynical and, undervalue stuff. But then I have family members who have said, well, I want to fight for this.
Yeah.
So it's this weird thing where I'm like, all right, I want to ignore this, but I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and not see that we've been blessed. But it's also from the point of view, I have never in my life gone, oh, I hope they don't look at me differently because I'm white. Not once. The only time I felt like that was in Modesto when Norte beat me down, which if you're out there, man, fair play. Nothing against you. I know I look like a Nazi. That's not your fault. But the thing was, the first time I experienced it and I shrugged it off and he tried to talk to me, I ignored it. And he's even a minister here in town. I walked with my friend who lived next door, Jerome. And I remember going in the store and the lady smiled at me. She took my money and he came out and it was like 7-Eleven, something like that. And she just scowls at him. And is like checking to see if he has a backpack, like checking the money. She even holds it up to the light. And as we're walking out, I'm like, is there a problem? She goes, you should maybe, think about who you hang out with. And I'm just like, dang. And this is just on 4th Street, the classiest place in Reno, in Sparks. But it was weird because I felt like I saw it then. Because especially when I brought it up to him and got mad, he's like, just stop it. Just ignore it.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to talk. He was like, just keep going. He was happy like she didn't call cops. And yet it wasn't until years later I went, oh, maybe Jerome didn't have the same experience as me.
Yeah. No, there's a part of me, man. I'm actually glad that you don't have the same experience. I don't want anybody to suffer that. I don't want anybody to be looked at differently because of how they look. Like that's stupid.
But I want to be you, Shay.
No, you don't.
And your relative who directs movies, Terry Gill. We already said we've already
British, I think.
British.
Yeah.
Is Terry a woman or a guy?
He's a guy.
So it's a British guy who's
British
clearly
white man.
related to Shay from South Carolina.
Clearly. No, but I don't want anybody to have to go through that, man. It's and like so people throw around that term white privilege. I don't know if you guys have talked about that at all.
I have it.
Okay.
I think
I don't. I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a negative thing. That means somebody has position authority to actually call some stuff out and people listen to them. Mm. Like you can use any term as positive or negative.
Like Fatty McButterpants.
It's like, hey.
Yeah, butter.
As long as it's PHAT. Like,
he did it. He beat me to it. 30. I've been mocking you so long. Shay just turned the tables on me. No, I agree. Continue.
You say it as an insult.
So you can. No, I know. I was complimenting you this whole time. So you're saying there, because actually, no, Anthony Bradley would agree with you. He said, I'm not calling you to feel just guilt and shame. He goes, use that to speak up then. Use that to mold things.
Christ didn't call you to guilt and shame. Christ called you to freedom. And if you're already free, fight for the brothers who are still enslaved. Yeah. That's what the Bible preaches. That's what Onesimus was looking for was freedom to relate with his brother. Dang. So like, yeah, don't feel bad about it. Use it for empowerment. It's awesome.
You don't have to feel guilty anymore, Sean.
I'm one that has said from the beginning that I definitely do have white privilege because remember, like, Seth and I, out of all of our friends, would get in trouble first, right? We would be the first ones that the teacher or police officer or whoever would think. We had the least privilege when it comes to not getting in trouble out of all of our friends, and still when we hung out with Jerome or a couple of other,
oh my gosh,
when we started going to high school, we still, like, we didn't have to do anything and people would overlook it. Or you would even, one time you pushed me into the boxes at that store called You'll Go Bananas, remember?
Don't say the now
and the
they
guy,
know.
It doesn't exist anymore. The guy came out and he was like angry, but they wouldn't even let our black friend in that store. Yeah. Like, that's a difference. Like, there clearly is privilege. And I agree 100%. Like, we should be taking advantage of that
privilege. Do you remember camping? The ranger came up and is like waiting for me to come back in because I realized he found beer or whatever. And he goes, do any of you have a knife? And I no joke went like this because I wasn't thinking.
He made a stabbing motion towards the cop to show his knife.
Yeah, I want to explain.
There's no way I could do that.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Picture Shay or Jerome on 4th. And they say, do you have a knife? And Shay goes, here it is. And just really,
One time we were in a cop car. Do you remember we were in a cop car because maybe I should tell this whole story.
Tell the whole story so I look worse.
We were driving, Seth had a 1994 Ford Taurus? Yes. 1992 Ford Taurus?
I don't know.
A maroon Ford Taurus. Yeah, it was kind of a junker. Vehicle. And we were taking it off-roading in what is now Wingfield Springs, but back in the day, it was just like
where Pastor
desert.
Kyle lives, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And we were driving around, and they had just started development on basically this new huge suburban community. And we were just driving around trying to jump it and do things, trying to get as much air as we see cars getting in the movies and stuff. And we ended up in the middle of a golf course. And at some point, there was this really low bridge. And Seth said, if I go fast enough, the roof of the car will just hit the top of the bridge and we'll be able to get under it. Because everybody else was saying, no, you can't get under that bridge. And whenever you tell Seth he can't do something, that's his first thing he tries to do. So we get about halfway to the bridge and the car just stops. And we were like, what the heck? And he was like, yeah, it won't even start. It'll like turn over, but it wouldn't start. It turns out he had snipped his fuel line on a piece of rebar that was sticking up. So we're in the middle of a golf course in a water hazard of a golf course that's not even open yet. It's Red Hawk Golf Course now. And your car is disabled and gas is leaking out and we're running away because we think it's going to blow up for some reason. And gas is leaking out and the car won't start. And I remember you changed that night and you were like, you know what? I'm not going to try to get out of this. I'm just going to tell my parents what I did because I want them to know that I'm angry or something like that. Yep. And so it was a long walk back and we were walking from the middle of the desert essentially at the time.
I started hitting all the sprinklers to try to flood the area.
Yeah, we were chopping off sprinkler heads and just being angry. We were angry 15, 16-year-old punk kids and we just hated the world, you know, and we would never be able to be on this golf course because we're so destitute and all these rich people don't know what it's like. So we thought we would prove it to them by
Kyle.
or something. Anyways, a cop picks us up because it's a bunch of punk kids chopping off sprinkler heads and walking down the street. And there was the nicest police officer I ever know. One of the 4 nice police officers I've run into in my life. 7. One of the 7. And he's super nice. And so our friend Mark is with us. And Mark with a Q. He sits in the front seat of the cop car. And Seth and I are sitting in the back behind the cage, you know? And the cage has this little area where you can actually reach your hand around. I remember I gave Mark a wet willy. I put my finger in my mouth, snuck my hand around. I gave Mark a wet willy. And he goes, whoa, with his catfish noises. Remember he used to do this catfish thing?
Yeah.
And totally hits the cop on accident because he reacted.
Yeah.
And the cop swerved the car a little bit. And he's like, just like, okay, settle down, guys. Like that.
He glared at him, though.
I mean, he was
so
mad.
He was
But
like,
what I'm saying, my point is, if Jerome was with us in that cop car,
oh my
a gun
gosh.
would have been pulled at that point. And he would have made sure Jerome sat in the back, I bet, too. And unfortunately, this is a really unfortunate way to explain white privilege. But I knew at
Us
that
being
moment,
terrible.
I was like, I am able to get away with almost anything.
It's just, I really should be dead or in prison.
Your dad had to come out and get the car
He
towed.
did. All right, you
And
guys
he didn't
can't
talk
see it.
to
He
us.
did this, like where you move your face. Like he didn't talk to me for a week or two. And
I would come
he was
over.
so mad.
When I would come over, he'd usually be like, you know, in the half Dutch accent, he'd be like, "Oh, hello there," you know,
Yeah.
Seth's upstairs.
Girder, yeah.
And, dude, when I came over, even months after we did that, he just kind of like nodded at me and walked away from the door. And he would ask, like, he'd be like, "Your friend's here," or something like that.
Well, I
It was
didn't
rough.
handle it the best because when they called them, she said, "What happened?" I said, "I wanted to take my car off-roading." And she's all, "What'd I learn? What'd you learn?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I never learn anything." I said, "So do what you're going to do." And she's like, "Excuse me?" And when my dad brought it up, I said something like, I was like, "Oh, I finally got your attention, huh?" And that just made him, because I was doing it on purpose. It was a cry for help when you really think about it. I'm the victim here.
It's hard being a white suburban
It's
child.
hard.
in the-
I'm like, where is I'm living in this, yeah. I was just mad about a lot of things. And
I know, we were so angry.
my dad's like, "I think it's best to ignore him. This situation will fix itself."
But one
Yeah.
thing I noticed, so when I went to high school, a separate high school from all of my peers. Seth had moved to the northwest side of the city, went to a pretty nice high school. All of my other friends went to the east side of the city, Reed, which is like an okay high school with a bunch of suburban kids. And I went to Sparks High because I was right on the edge of the boundary. And Sparks High was diverser than any school I'd
What,
ever been to.
Pacific Islander, Latino, white?
So, like, it was like, so many Tongan guys. Most of my friends were Mexicans there, and the black guys there were super cool. And I was like, when we went to Lena Juniper Elementary, there were 2 black people in the entire school.
And I'd like to point out one of them left.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
one of them
saying
left,
it's
so there was
because
one.
of Sean, but he
No.
went to that same school.
No, actually, I dated one of them. Her name was Brianna, remember?
You did.
I dated her. We saw Fifth Element together, me and her, and made out in
That's
the bar.
why do you bring up that movie? So
It's a good
It's an awesome
film.
movie.
Thank you. See, me and Shay are on the same page. Anyways, my point is that when I went to Sparks High, I started to realize the same thing. All the things that I was able to get away with, I couldn't get. My friends, who were my friends at Sparks High, couldn't get away with it. They were immediately targeted by teachers, administrators, and police as people who were causing problems. And so here's an example in summer school when I was there, trying to retake algebra for the 4th time. I sat next to this kid they called Moose, and he was really cool. He was like a senior, and he was retaking algebra, but he would sit next to me, and he was super nice. Usually seniors don't like you when you're a freshman, you know, but he was like really nice to me and everything. And you know those round things that you put around a page when you put it in a binder to reinforce the hole so that it doesn't rip out of the 3-ring binder? I took those and I made a giant anarchy sign on the desk because I was such a tool. And it was just this huge full desk size anarchy sign because I was like, oh, whatever. And the teacher came over and she goes, what is that? And I go, anarchy. You don't know anything about it. And she looks at Moose, who was sitting next to me. And she goes, did you give those to him?
Oh my god!
I'm totally serious.
You're joking.
No, this is a true story.
There's
And
someone
he
named
looked
Moose.
at me. His name, well, I think his name is Maurice.
Do you believe this, Shay?
His name
I
is
mean,
Maurice.
you
Maurice,
serve
if you're
with
out
this
there,
guy.
I'm so sorry because he had to leave. She made him leave the classroom because I did something, and they were his, but
Your parents blame me for you running away, so I know what Moose feels like.
it's true.
Did they not?
They did blame you.
All right.
You were a bad example.
Just because my brother was into drugs and I caused trouble, they're like, he causes trouble.
It was because you had red hair. You had dyed hair.
They called my parents. They're like, Sean ran away. We're not saying it's because of Seth, but we think it's because of Seth.
It's true. It kind of.
And you slept at the
It
ditch.
kind of was. Yeah, I slept at the ditch. Tales from the ditch. I slept at that ditch a couple nights because I was
Where
tired
is
of being at
this
home.
infamous ditch?
That way. It's just north of McCarran and Pyramid in Sparks,
okay.
Nevada.
I gotcha.
So you could see, like from here, you could see the mountains between here and Livingstone Sparks.
Mm-hmm.
The whole mountainous brown area, that's the ditch.
How much time do we have left?
Dude, we're pretty far over time, but we got as much
Shay,
time as you guys
what
have.
is it like being a Green Beret in the Korean War?
Wow. I think you just called me old.
That didn't go how I thought. I thought it would go differently.
As a child.
I was a child soldier.
No, he wouldn't
Actually,
be as
oh,
a
no.
child. He's a few years older than us. You called him old.
I have
was,
a legitimate...
He would have been a child. Do you remember what the Korean War was?
yeah.
What
My
date?
grandpa was in the Korean War.
What year?
1984.
You're gonna say 87. He's on 1987. All right, no, you have a
okay,
legitimate
I do have
one.
a legitimate question.
We'll
so,
close this.
and this, yeah, this will be the last thing. I know a couple of combat vets, just a couple, but they tell me, and they're kind of like messed up dudes. And from media and news and everything like that, it seems like combat vets just have such a difficult time. It's like a trope now. You know what I mean? You go over and serve in the war and you come back and you're an alcoholic and if you don't kill yourself, like you beat your wife for the rest of your life or something like that. And it's like a really unfortunate cliche. So my question is, because you're a chaplain, right? My question is that, one, is that like an accurate portrayal? And two, is what can the rest of the world do to actually be supportive? Because I would think that, I mean, I would hope obviously that troops who have seen combat would be the most supported people that there are out there. But unfortunately, I guess that's not true. And also, like, you know, Abby Kaufman and throwing Jane Fonda and all that. I understand that, like, you can return to like a really unfortunate situation where people think you're fighting an unjust war or something like that. But still, like, is there anything that, like, people who aren't in the military can do to be supportive of people who are coming back, if that is a real accurate portrayal of how it goes?
Yeah, I don't think it's an accurate portrayal, like, in every case. Like, the whole PTSD thing. I mean, it's almost like an urban legend at this point.
Wow.
And so I think the biggest thing, and it sounds cliche, but it's literally the biggest thing you could do is pray for them. Every time you kill someone, it rips a part of your soul apart.
Wow.
And so imagine killing someone multiple times on a daily basis. Your soul gets ripped apart. Like this is a spiritual thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain aspect where, especially like someone like the Marines who are actually, you know, they're out there out front, the tip of the spear. They almost have to separate themselves from that part of their personality where they can't care anymore. Like you just kind of have to compartmentalize. Like this is the job, and then this is home. But then you have some people who they're in other services, like maybe they have a desk job, or maybe they are. Since we're doing the drone stuff now, like they're watching people die on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Those guys, I mean, just praying for them. Number one, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think practically, support the VA, man. Those guys, there's some VAs. I think Reno has probably one of the better VAs around the country. But there's some VAs that, people die as they're waiting for treatment.
Jeez.
Wow, really?
As they're sitting around waiting for, they've seen like numerous bodies, either underfunded or overly bureaucratic. They just, as they're waiting for help, like they pass away, either self-inflicted or just die of old wounds or whatever else.
Wow.
So support the VA, man. So if it's like going to visit folks at the VA, just go say what's up. Listen to their story. Old dudes love telling their stories.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something our generation has lost, like respect for older people. Just because we became so like against the previous generation that we no longer appreciate the things that they've been through. The Korean War, man, that messed people up.
Yep.
Vietnam really messed people up. Like
what do they call Korean War? The Forgotten War? Some almost forgot we even...
Yeah, we forgot we even had it. And some of those guys are jacked from that kind of stuff. And so, just Christ told us to love those people, man. That can't help themselves. So I think those are, like, there's one practical and one, like, just praying hard for them. And not like a middly, Jesus save them kind of thing. It's like, God rescue them and comfort them.
Man,
I think those are the two big ones.
I wonder about that with King David, like the things he saw.
Yeah, he was jacked. I mean, if you read it seems like he had a little bit of PTSD.
I wonder what happened when he went to bed at night, or he was alone with his thoughts, because that just, I don't see how you could fight that many guys and not affect you. And he was seeing some crap. Yeah. The Philistines were not these peaceful. Oh my gosh, they did terrible things. He would have probably seen villages after they were raised, and oh gosh.
Yeah, Middle Eastern culture is so much. They're brutal. They can be brutal. So we forget that the Bible was written toward Middle Eastern culture.
That's so true. Well, I appreciate that. I didn't even think about supporting the VA. I think that's something I'm going to try to start doing actively. It's
a good idea. Yeah, because I think you and I'm an idealist a lot. Well, you're a more idealist than me, but I always think in a certain picture, but then I go, oh yeah, that's a practical way I could do it.
Right.
And it's so ridiculous because that's right in front of me where I go, yeah, why not? Like I could go in there and just listen to some dude's story. Like anyone could do that. Really, if you have the time and the patience and it's like,
and give them a little hope, like maybe
hope,
just like say, oh,
someone actually gives a crap too.
Yeah. I think that's great. Another thing that gave David PTSD. Think of all those foreskins he had to cut off personally.
I wanted to say that. I didn't know how this podcast was rated.
I don't want.
I think we could say foreskin.
I don't want to forget our sponsors. We are sponsored now that they brought it up by Washoe Wieners. Washoe Wieners, you're always a wiener with us.
Since you brought it up, one foreskin was probably traumatic.
The first one was the worst.
Can you imagine the first one he had to do?
Isn't that Wikipedia? It's always the first foreskin that's the worst.
Go like this.
Ew.
Okay. Well, that probably
take that, John
conclude
MacArthur.
Our podcast. Yeah. So we just want to make a quick shout out to our listeners: Greg Bonson, John MacArthur, Oprah. Thank you for your support.
Yep.
Thank you for your kind words.
Personal friend. Can I say one serious thing and then we close it out?
Yeah, that's probably good.
No joke. Like, all right, some of you I know don't have full-time jobs and have time. Even if you do, VA. That really, you know what? We talk about our troops so much. Go do it. Seriously, just go down there, see what you can do, talk to them. It's on, if you Google it, there's contact info. We could do that. If you really during Christmas go, oh, I care so much about my troops, like we could do that. So go listen, go talk to them.
Bring some cookies.
Would they be?
You could bring cookies,
Yeah.
right? Everybody likes cookies.
I've had 2 or 3 generations of guys
Pie.
in my family fight in war. So like, yeah, listen to what he's saying. Pastor Shay is your chancellor. He is your leader, and you will bow down to him. All hail Shay and Terry Gilliam. Next week will be Ryan Smith talking about pacifism and why we're all sinners.
Why he supports
Pacifism.
pacifism.
I thought we were
100%
going
is
to
behind
talk
it.
more theology, man. Maybe I'll have to come back.
Absolutely.
Do you want to?
Yeah, we should talk theology. Okay, we'll come up with a theological topic to go through.
Yeah.
The problem is we never plan anything. Like, as you may have noticed tonight, Shay, we didn't plan anything, whether it was dinner or topics. So maybe we should start planning. Also, Star Wars wasn't that great. Oh. Did you see it yet, Shay?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I kind of agree.
Oh, yeah, it was just not that great.
Shay does have good theology.
But maybe we'll talk about that another time. Questions, concerns, complaints,
Send them to Judah at Fancy Shoes.
talesfromtheditch@gmail.com, and please support your local VA. And I think we'll call that a podcast. Thank you, Pastor Shay, for coming and visiting us
Yeah, man.
and
Thanks for
bringing
the
the beer.
invite. Appreciate the invite, man.
With Christ I couldn't lose, but to walk with God like Enoch, I knew I couldn't cruise. This walk is a beast, but nothing's greater than the cross. Saw the mark of the east and the raiders of the lost. While Tower Records was choosing to carry G-Unit, I was on that revolutionary theme music. The brothers from the Lou held it down as well, but we noticed a big shift in 2012. Around the time Jackie asked me about Calvinism, Christian hip-hop found a different algorithm and crossed over without taking the crossover. Made us all sober. Years later, is it all over? Trip asked me if I was still motivated. I was quiet, but I wanted to say no, I hate it. Cause brothers in your camp causing lots of confusion. I love them as brothers in Christ, but not their conclusions. They want to reach the world by all means, keep pursuing it. But tell me why they gotta